Alright, we have a Gen 2 6R80. The complaint is shift element E stuck off. More than likely what we have is a strip planet in the back end. $10mm on the pump. $13mm on the linkage. And 1 5/16 on the flange. $8mm on the pan. Alright, there are a few different filters for this thing, so make sure that you match it up. There's a tab right here, push in on it, pull up. Pass-through connector will come out. Three-quarters on the dipstick. And 30 torques on the bolts that hold the valve body in. They have a slightly larger head than the rest of them. These conductor plates are horribly bad about going bad. On the early design, the computer is part of it, so you have to reprogram it if you replace it on an early design. Late design, you don't have to. These are horribly bad about cracking. I always replace it. Bias spring right here holds your sprag. Just get on this side, push it forward, and then pop it out. rubber seals have to come out for the support to come out. Now, I am sorry, I am not going to be able to get you a good view down inside the case. I've already had one person upset about that, but I don't have a camera person here, so I can't get down in there to show this to you. Sometimes it'll just pop out, get between here and the drum, and one pry bar will do it, but if it won't, get on both sides and it'll pop out. Selector shim, 30 torques on the pump. Bushings are always worn out on these things. I always put a bushing kit in. Our support, generally there's nothing wrong with it. You can check it up in here, make sure that the ring grooves are okay where the shaft goes, but they usually are, depending on which one you have, whether you have a bushing up here and back here. Like I said, always replace the bushings on these. Make sure your surface is okay where your gears are at. Marker pump gears. The recess side faces forward on the inner gear. The bevel side faces forward on the outer gear. Make sure our surface is okay. The snap ring opening is right here. You're going to want to go 180 from that and get in right here and pop that out. Okay, bearing here. Make sure hub's okay. Like I said, I don't even look at the bushings because they're going to get replaced. Do make sure where your bushing rides on here is okay. Look, this one spun out. So we may need a shaft here. And bearing here. Alright, I'm going to have to try to get that off of there. I'll see if that surface is okay when I get done. Bearing here. More than likely we may be replacing this and this because it's probably not going to hold the bushing anymore. These drums are bad about cracking, so air check it. before you take it apart. Alright, it's okay. A little toasty. Bearing here. Alright, to get this planet out of here, you're going to have to go down beside the pinion, and there's a snap ring that's in there, and you're going to have to feel for it. You're not going to be able to see it. You're going to get down in the groove, kind of push the snap ring off while lifting up on the planetary, and eventually it will let loose. Like, it's halfway off there. Try not to let it back down, or it'll snap right back into place. Just keep working it around, and eventually it will pop out. Alright, pay attention to how your sun gear is in here. I just zip tie it together. Normally all this is in good shape. Make sure your bearing's in good shape. I just leave it together, zip tie it together. There's little tabs were just locked into place. Go ahead and mark your piston where those are at. It makes it much quicker to line that all back up. Make sure cushion plate's okay. Make sure our surface back here is okay. Looks like our bearings come apart. So we're going to need a bearing here. Might be okay, but we're going to go ahead and replace it. Okay. Looks like we got an issue with the center support here. This is fairly chewed up. That normally doesn't happen. And we got a fair amount of damage here. We may not be building this one, especially if that planet's bad. Okay, so our snap ring we're going to have to get onto. You're definitely not going to be able to see this, because I'm going to have to bring it out here to the edge of the table, and there's no way for me to show down inside there, but there is a snap ring that holds that support in. My big snap ring pliers are really too big to get down in there. Sometimes you can maneuver it and you can barely get on it and get it squeezed. If I can do that, I'm going to do that. Otherwise it's a pain to dig it out, and I'm probably going to have to stop the camera, because like I said, it's a pain to get out of there if you don't have the right snap ring pliers, and I don't. So we'll see how this goes. out. Here's your snap ring, the bevel sticks out towards you. Now, I don't know if you can see that. There is a lot of play there. So, looks like our case is worn out. So, I'm almost 100% we're not going to build this thing. Those two little lugs, and where's the other one? There should have been another one in there. And our support's all chewed to pieces. We have a shim, a bearing, our sun gear, race, bearing, another sun gear with the bevel facing out, bearing, and the race. Our sprag, turning counterclockwise, locking clockwise. I'm just going to leave this here. I'm not going to take the drums apart. I have a teardown video on the Gen 1, so if you want to see the drums taken apart, you can watch that one, because I guarantee I'm going to be putting this one right back together. Okay, now if you look down inside this planet and you're just looking at it, you think, that's okay. But you take your shaft and you stick it in here and it's stripped out. That's what's throwing that code. But we have a ton more problems. So if I was building this thing, another bearing here. This bearing on the back, just leave it on there. It stays on there. The case is empty. So if I was building this and didn't have this much damage, normally what's happening, especially on these big transit vans, is when this planet strips. You would probably get this planet, a bushing kit, a zip kit, the Transgo valves for the valve body. This is what normally else do I put in there. Now the conductor plate, or they call it the lead plate. Filter, torque converter, of course. If it hadn't screwed the case up, we'd probably be putting these two hubs in there. As soon as we got as much damage as we have here, I can guarantee we're not going to build this. Even if we do, probably not going to be a video on this particular one, because I think I got a rebuild video on both versions of it. So I don't think, and I think they're close up, so I don't think I need to do another one. But if not, then, and we end up building this, then I'll do a video on it. Other than that, that's it for this one.